What? 2 o'clock.
2 o'clock. Beers.
It's fine. Lunchtime drinking.
Yeah, just a little.
I'll sober up and I'll be very productive for the second half of the day.
Right, exactly.
Pick up my kids from school.
Right.
I'm going to practice for 3 hours.
You're going to practice for 3 hours today?
No, I was joking.
I was like, how are you going to fit that in with your...
No.
That's what she said.
Perfect way to start off the podcast. Welcome, everybody, to the very first podcast that at this moment is nameless, and it will have a name by the time this airs, and you'll know what it is. But we do have some special guests today. The great Orlando LeFleming, great bass player. Say hello.
Glad to be here. Thanks for inviting me.
And the hilarious, incredible, one and only unique Mr. Jochen Rueckert.
But not
drummer.
great.
But definitely
Hello.
giving his native greeting. Yeah, Orlando, you just had a gig at Smalls last night in the Village. What was happening?
I was very lucky that I was able to get Jeff Tane Watts and Mark Turner to play with me.
Right.
And we played at Smalls last night. And I've been playing with Jeff Watts on and off for a long time. So I've been playing with him. And he's been talking about trying to get Mark to play with him.
Right.
And I've been playing with Mark with Jochen's band, actually. And Mark had always said that he wants to play with Jeff, but they never get it together. So I decided to book them for my gig.
Right.
And we just played some tunes, and it was great. It was you know, it's always inspiring to play with people like that. And playing with Tane is incredible just because of his feel and his energy, and it's relaxed and fun, you know.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah, it was stressful for me just to be a band leader with those two guys. I had a drink to loosen me up, but they're both of them are such nice people, and they have such good energy to be around. It was cool. Wouldn't you agree, Mark? Mark is fun to be around.
I concur. Yes.
Sorry.
You concur that Mark is fun to be around?
Yeah. He's
just nice.
He's a nice person.
Nice
yes.
person. Yeah.
He's probably the nicest person.
Yeah, I've spent very little time around him, but I've seen both of you guys play with him, a number of times in different videos and records and stuff like that.
It takes him about a week to answer an email, but apart from that, he is a very nice guy.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you guys have done... So when did you guys first meet? Because you guys wind up on a lot of different gigs together, whether that be, Jochen's gigs or somebody else's gigs. Or...
I can't remember.
Did we do a session at Jerome's? I moved to New York in 2003. You'd already been here forever.
Yeah, I moved in
And
94, 93.
I knew who this guy was because he was already kind of on the scene.
He was a dude kind of already,
or he'd been playing.
Wow.
And then we did a session at our friend Jerome Sabas' house in Park Slope, I think.
Were you nervous to play with such a famous drummer?
Really nervous. Yeah, I was. Yeah. But I remember us sitting outside smoking cigarettes. Oh, that's when I smoked cigarettes. When we smoked cigarettes.
Right, yeah, on the fire escape?
Outside just sitting down on the doorstep or something. Yeah.
Wow.
After playing, probably played, stablemates or something.
Right.
Milestones.
Yeah, I do not. Actually, I can't remember that. I thought maybe we...
Oh, that's...
I feel like I thought we might have met on, Will's gig.
Oh, maybe.
I remember I played a gig with Will and Lage and Bryn or something.
Yeah.
When they were all in Astoria.
Maybe that was it.
Lage was drinking Corona.
Yeah.
It's weird.
He's a big Corona drinker.
I mean, he's such a, wine snob now.
Yeah.
It's really funny to think back. He was just drinking Coronas.
Drinking Coronas, yeah. And he still drinks Coronas. Yeah.
No, everybody's got to have their guilty pleasures even if they're a wine snob.
Yeah. It's expensive. Oof.
But yeah, so it must have been around
This is like 93, 94?
No, the Lager and Orlando, I've met, those guys are younger than me. A little bit.
Not much. Me and Lage moved to New York about 2003, about the same time. He came from Berkeley, and I just came from London. And Jochen moved to New York when you were...
Like, I want to say 92, 93.
And how old are you? 40?
18.
Oh, yeah, you're like 41 year old than me.
He's not 18
I'm 44.
now.
I'm 43.
Oh yeah?
Lage's like 41,
hemorrhoids?
42. What?
Do you have hemorrhoids yet?
I'm not that
That's
old.
coming at 44.
Is that what it is?
When's your birthday? I'll get you a pack of witch hazel.
A triple pack of witch hazel.
I'll get you some wipes with witch hazel.
These are the real issues in jazz that are not talked about.
I mean, I don't sit. Maybe it's a drummer thing from sitting down.
Oh, right, that's what it is.
Yeah, just sitting down, playing. Or, a bunch of tunes. Oof.
Sweaty.
Bunch of jazz originals.
Sweaty butthole.
Drummers do have more issues than most musicians, though. Physical
bass players
issues.
have a lot of issues, though. People have a lot more back issues and stuff.
Bass players?
Yeah.
Yeah, I've been lucky because my mother was a classical musician. She always told me just to be relaxed and breathe. And
what did your mom play?
She's a very good cellist, classical cellist, and she played with the Academy of St Martin's in the Fields for years. A great
Douglas Mariner.
Under Sir Neville Mariner,
right.
under Douglas's grandfather.
Yeah, right.
And
and Andrew, the father.
Yes.
Andrew Sir, I don't know. He's not a Sir.
I don't know. Yeah.
That's Doug's father, who was principal clarinet of.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. So. My parents are classical musicians. My dad's a composer too, a classical composer. So they had that in the family, and I was lucky that my mother kind of taught me that sort of thing, But I see my students today, some bass players, and they're like, some of them are grinding their teeth, or so tense. Oh man,
young bass players were the worst. Yeah.
And I noticed that when I sorry, this is boring for you, Jochen, but especially when playing with people like Tame, when it gets loud, I remember early on I would just pull harder and harder and harder, and the fast tempos, and get tense and tense and tense, rather than turn myself up and play lighter,
Yeah.
And when I figured that out, it helped, But it's hard to adapt to those things on the gig,
Yeah, well, a lot of other instrumentalists are telling you, go ahead, pull those strings, and all that thing, which is like
I went through that phase, and I used to play at Smalls just with a mic. No matter the drummer, and I used to come away with like blood blisters.
I remember that the first time I saw you.
Was it? Yeah.
I think I saw you when I was in high school, maybe when I just moved here.
Yeah.
And you had these like huge blisters.
Yeah, I just used to play acoustic, and in certain situations that was great if it was quiet enough. And when you're playing swing, it's nice when the bass is that level, when it's not too loud,
Yeah, because that's a part of
that's the part of the sonic sound of that style,
right?
And so it's suited for that. But then, that comes from Bramford's playing in Bramford's band. I was lucky enough to play with Bramford a couple of times, and there's no amp there. Eric doesn't use an amp.
Yeah.
It's just a mic and a monitor.
Yep.
And you can't really. It's hard on stage to hear yourself, but they're so close together. Bramford, I think, can feel the bass.
Right there.
And also, he doesn't need it to be super loud. He just wants to feel the rhythmical thump rather than the specific notes all the time. Whereas some band leaders, I found this out the hard way, because some band leaders need it really loud, and I had to kind of get used to playing with an amp more, later on.
Oh yeah, totally.
Like playing with David Sanchez or something,
Right.
Where a lot of the accents in that sort of music
Yeah.
are based on that sound too,
Right.
Yeah. So I was like thumping away trying to play like some sort of tumbao bass line, but it just didn't sit right because I was thumping,
Right, the actual attack of it. And
sorry, Jochen, this is really boring, isn't it?
Yeah, how boring is it, Jochen?
It's on a level from 1 to 10. We're at about a 6.5.
Yeah.
I want to say.
Okay, so
I did learn the word tumbao. Tumbao.
Well,
there's a couple types, right?
Well, I'm not an expert on this field. You need to speak to John Benitez or someone.
Yeah, that is a goal to have John Benitez on here.
You should, yeah.
Lucas.
I can tell you what.
Lucas,
you can also just
of course,
Google it if you guys want to.
And Andy Gonzalez is still with us, right?
He's still with us. I mean, he's the godfather of that.
The past 2 nights when I was doing the thing at the Iridium with the Brecker Brothers 2020, we had Cafe de Silva.
Oh yeah.
who's amazing, the percussionist, and he worked with like Milton Nascimento and Tohinho and all these guys. And he was giving me some pointers and gave me a long list of things to listen to and bass players to check out.
Yeah.
But
that's the whole. I mean, it's the whole. A lot of work there to get into that.
It's just a whole other world.
Another world. You can't really fake it. I mean, I'm not.
And sometimes we're forced to fake it.
We have to, because you have to do it. I mean, when I played with David Sanchez, it was hard because he wanted me to play with that tradition, but play broken and loose and open. So he wanted me to run before I could walk, with that style. So I was sort of, he liked my improvisation where it was open, free, and I would listen and everything, but I wouldn't have the accents super in the right place. You know what I mean? Right. So I definitely struggled with that. Music for a time being, and it's super hard too,
Yeah, I mean, I always do my best. I mean, with Luquez was a major helper. He would come by New School when I was a student there.
Okay.
But all the older bass, not older, but you and Yasushi and Luquez, you guys were always.
I haven't got hemorrhoids yet, so I'm not that old.
Yeah, well, Jochen's a little more crotchety because of his impending drum seat situation. So, start with when you got to New York in '93. Give us a little backstory on how you started music, like the whole thing,
Okay, so I was born out of my mom's vagina, very, very early.
That's unusual. I've never heard of that before.
Yeah, right straight out.
Wow, I don't think that's ever happened before.
Yeah, and then I came to New York just kind of for fun after I've dropped out of high school and started going to music college in Cologne, and then I just came to visit, and then I came to visit longer, and I just kept sort of going back and forth for like a year, and then I think I've got an apartment in like 95 or something, and basically it's just did a lot of sitting around and listening to music, going to Smalls and stuff, and then
that's the old Smalls
the old Smalls.
Yeah, because I didn't really experience that much either, but you should tell us about that.
Okay, so old Smalls.
Kurt was playing there every week or something.
Yeah, right? So Kurt was playing Tuesdays.
Yeah.
Samuel was playing Wednesdays.
Yeah.
I think Thursdays I don't know. It was those are the steady ones.
Yeah.
And Smalls used to be open from 10 to 10.
Yeah.
And Mitch would just get there at like 8.
Yeah.
Clean, set up, and then he would go home at like noon.
Yeah.
It was crazy. Sometimes we would go to Smalls at 6 in the morning.
Yeah.
We were like, let's go to Smalls.
Yeah.
Okay.
Wow.
Which is crazy, yeah.
Yeah, and that would be on the later end of a hang, right? You guys weren't waking up early at 6 to go check. you were like, let's run a 5K from Harlem down to, and then check out Smalls.
Yeah.
Wow. So, I mean, that's the time in...
maybe it was 8 to 8. No, it was at 10 to 10. I think the first band started at 10.
Yeah.
And the second band started at 1. And then jam sessions started like 3 or something.
I think, that the regular gigs, and there's not so many of them these days. I mean, there's so many great musicians and bands to accommodate in New York, but the regular gigs are really important, and it's where people like Kurt got to develop his music.
Oh yeah. And
Sam and Ari, lucky enough to play with Ari.
Yeah.
And he has a regular thing, and it's just become so much stronger when you have that. Wayne Krantz.
Yeah,
and
totally.
Unfortunately, they're not any regular things for new artists, right? Younger ones don't seem to have that.
I can't think of any,
Yeah. It's hard, right?
It's hard. I mean, that's why I started jam session gigs, essentially.
Oh, yeah,
because the clubs were looking for jam session hosts, and I said, well, the difficult thing is that it's hard to draw in New York if you have the same band every week. For instance, imagine, or my generation imagines that Kurt and Mark Turner and that band, they played every week and they built a following. Brian Blade with the Fellowship band, they were playing at Smalls, right, at that time and stuff like that.
I think so, yeah.
I think our generation would love to do something like that and have the same band hit every week, but it's pretty hard to draw a crowd every week. I don't know whether that's because of the development of technology and people are bored watching live music, or it's the venues or the lack of gigs or the shift in the music, but there are a couple people, Gifton, young trumpet player who's great. He's got a weekly thing at Smoke. Emmett had a weekly thing at Smoke.
Okay, so they're all, right?
Yeah, but
I mean, Smoke will give you. They'll have like somebody every Sunday or something for a month, right?
No, they'll do it. I think Emmett's been up there for maybe 3 or 4 years, right? The younger guys will do the late nights. That's Johnny O'Neill.
Yeah.
Right.
And I think certain bands like Gifton and a couple other young guys, Emmanuel Wilkins, Joel Ross, they're getting to work regularly with original music. So they're getting to workshop that. But a lot of the weekly residencies are super straight ahead, which is great because people should be learning to play tunes every week. And I think there was a time where people were at Smalls playing tunes every week. But also the opportunities for people to workshop original music weekly is like few and far between in New York.
Yeah.
So you guys kind of had that. What was the vibe back then? Would you guys get bands together and just shed constantly, like have rehearsals all week? Or?
No.
I never did, no.
What I've been doing recently, I mean, my leader life isn't that, band leader life isn't that prolific, but I've been lucky enough to get gigs at the 55 bar, like once a month I can get one.
Right.
And then so I just workshop their music like that, and that's been invaluable. Yeah, I've just recorded the gigs and just figured out what sounds good, who sounds shit, who sounds good now. I mean, it's New York's amazing. I mean, it's one thing, as being a sideman bass player, one thing I've learned since I became a leader is just how not to get offended when someone doesn't call you for a gig, because there's so many reasons, you know, that a band leader goes through to pick the musicians they like. Yeah. And it can be nothing to do with your playing. It could be just personality. It could be many things, friends, or it could be just a specific thing. And I just realized that when I started leading my own band. It was like, oh, okay. I mean, I had amazing people play with me, but they weren't quite the right thing. And, you know, so I think it's very important. I advise for especially young sidemen like drummers and bass players, you know, to get your own projects together and just sort of understand that side of things. I know that you do. You do that, but I hadn't done that, you know.
Yeah,
that's true.
Yeah, it definitely gives you like another outlook on why people get hired, why people don't get hired. You learn a lot of stuff about yourself personally, instantly in a flash. But also the thing about being a bass player leader, I think, or even a drummer leader, is sometimes then people take you off their radar of being a sideman.
Yeah.
Supporting artist, sideman, sidewoman, whatever it is. Right. You know, sometimes when you lead your own projects, have you guys found that sometimes?
I mean, I don't know. I don't know if that's has it affected you.
I have. Yeah, I feel that. I'm not sure if it's just because I'm, you know. It's hard to figure out if the little. I felt a little slump in sideman work. When I started my own band, but I'm not. Yeah, it's hard to tell if it's because of that.
Or it's just getting older. There's younger players, you know. And because
it's probably because I'm like old, grumpy, and I suck. And then people see that I'm on the road with my own band. So yeah, I feel like people just think you're gone or something.
Yeah. You have to be show your face and be, hey.
Yeah, I mean then also having a child definitely puts damper on things because you don't go out as much. Yeah, I mean you literally have to go out to get a gig. Like
well, you make an effort. I noticed that you come out like you've come out.
Well, I'm also alcoholic, so you know, I like to see music.
Last night
and drink alcohol. Yeah. So
but you could just drink alcohol at home, but you also make it a point to go out.
But which is much harder when you have a kid, you know. So I feel like, and that those two things were roughly around the same time. I started band leading in like 2011 maybe, and my son was born in 2014. So there's definitely been. I think my like peak was the busiest was like 2007.
Orlando's sneaking the beer right now, like the people can see him drinking the beer. He's like slow motion, like nursing this beer. Sorry, I just outed you for. No, I mean. Oh man, old school podcast,
This is an interesting subject though, because as you get older, and you'll find this out because you're a youngster.
Yeah.
You know, your priorities start shifting, and you realize, as a sideman, you know, and I'm not. Obviously, I want to play with a lot of people. And there's a lot of people I haven't played with yet. You know, John Schofield or what, you know.
Yeah,
but the priorities.
Same here. Yeah, that's exactly what I think of.
priorities have shifted as far as me as what I want to do. I'm not desperate to be a sideman. I love leading my own band, and I kind of selfishly kind of want that control, or want to be in co-led things or my own thing. So I'm less kind of willing to sacrifice myself as a sideman as I get older. And also those younger guys like you, great players, you know, who are around and doing, you know, sound awesome, you kind of just get pushed out and make way for people. Younger generations. You know what I mean?
It keeps happening on different levels. Yeah. Right? Like I've noticed even in the past 2 years, you know, great bass players, Mark Lewandowski, Phil Norris, Felix Moselholm. There's like all these guys that are in school up at Juilliard and Manhattan and stuff, and other guys who aren't in school who are like playing their asses off. Yeah. And so, you know, I leave town to do a gig with Jochen or whatever, and then I have this like weekly whatever, and then they pick that up, and that's the way that it goes. So the only way that you're really going to ensure any sort of stability, which is a total like shot in the dark as it is like doing other shit. Yeah. You know, it's really the only way. Yeah.
But then also, I mean, you get work by working too, you know? I mean, so if I, you know, if you don't play gigs, then nobody's gonna see you and hire you either, you know? I mean, you know, if you just hang out, it's not like you're gonna get a gig, you know? You have to play gigs to get gigs. It's kind of the old chicken egg thing, right?
Yeah. Was it ever a situation where you guys showed up to jam sessions and people actually called you from a jam session?
I feel like that's not happen.
It's a myth.
You know,
right? It happens.
When I first came to New York, I made an
effort.
Go
to his jam session.
I think it's better.
You like to drink. It's the only reason you come to my jam session.
I think it's much better now than it was when I first moved to New York in 2003, because there was a lull, and you know, then Smalls closed for a bit, and so there was a lull. So I went to the one uptown. I forget, this place just closed. Cleopatra's. It was awful. I got up with a drummer who sucked, singing with a singer who, you know, singing a tune I didn't know in a weird key, you know, just kind of sucked. And then I know there was a couple of people there I was trying to impress, but nothing ever transpired.
I don't think I ever got a single gig from a public jam session.
You got up over to do that.
I think the trick of I want to mention this. When I moved in the 90s, we would just play sessions at home like a lot. Like we would just play. I would play 1 or 2 sessions every day. Yeah. For, you know, like 3-4 years when I got here, and I think that's how I met most people. That's how I met basically everybody I know. I met
playing home sessions
or playing a gig.
Yeah, I think someone was asking. I was with Bruce Bath a while back, and someone was asking him the best way to sort of break into the scene, and he was saying, well, one thing you can do is get a place where you can get a drum kit there and a piano, and then just invite all the people you want to play with, and just that's the way to do it. Or even better, get a little gig that pays, you know, $100 and invite and play duo with and that's the way to do it, you know, and take the initiative. But those jam sessions didn't work, although I think it's much better now. I think the jam session scene in New York is much better than it was.
The public jam sessions.
I think maybe the infrastructure of it, and obviously I don't know because I wasn't there with you guys, but at the same time, like the level of the sessions since I've gotten to town has gone down. Oh, really? I think.
Okay.
Yeah, I think, I mean, I've only been here, it's going to be 10 years in August, but I feel like I would go to Creole and the house band would be like Hutch, Dwayne Burno, Jaleel, and then the next week it'd be like Oren with like Justin Brown and Joe Sanders. I'm not getting it exactly right, but it'd be like combinations of that. Right. So then when the jam session hit, actually I remember in high school, I think I heard you on this trip too. We came up for a weekend, and when I sat in, it was like me and Ambrose and maybe like Ferenc Nemeth, and I was like the last bass player to get to sit in. So like the level even at that state of the jam session was still really high. But now I feel like cats don't really want to sit in as much at Smalls and places like that. They're kind of in the back, like chatting. Don't you guys kind of remember a time when like established musicians would get up and play more? Or am I totally, is that a dream?
I don't know. It might be something to do with your age, and you've just, you know, you just lost touch of, you know, or you have different idols. There's some young guy seeing you sitting in a jam session now going, shit, Claffy's playing a jam session, you know, just go and check it out, you know. And you have like, you've got one, and you have Kikoski playing with you and people like that. That's super cool, right?
Right, but what other? I did that because that was like me trying to. But what other?
But that's great for a younger guy,
right? But for example, like when Mwenso was running the Dizzy's session.
Yeah.
For people that are listening, Michael Mwenso led a jam session at Dizzy's Club Coca-Cola. He pretty much started the jam session there, and they had him start the jam session there. And I remember the first house band was like Aaron Deal, Lawrence, God rest his soul, and Sakivi, of course, and Cecile sat in, and Brianna Thomas, and me and Doug were there, and people, and the level of that session for 2 years was just like Lewis Nash would come up and sit in, and now it's like that kind of stuff doesn't happen. I mean, Roy was doing it, right? Johnny O'Neill, but that's really how people get better. They play with somebody like Johnny O'Neill, and they're like, shit, I don't know any tunes.
Yeah.
I need to go learn tunes.
I would say that I'm guilty of not sitting in jam sessions. As an older player, maybe be beneficial for some young drummer. I should, I don't do that. I haven't really done that,
Yeah.
Unless I'm sort of drunk. Actually, which is quite often. So I've done it, but
you sit in when you're drunk only?
Yeah, which is
exclusively
every time I'm at a jazz club, basically. No, I'm not. No. Sorry.
I mean, no, you can. Yeah. Come on, it's not that.
But when do you find yourself at a jam session though?
After I play at Smalls, after the gigs, usually after the gigs at Mesro or Smalls, and I play there, both those places quite often. There's usually a jam session, and I sometimes sit in.
Oh really? Yeah.
I have.
Mesro is great to sit in as a bass player.
Yeah,
because the acoustics, it's just
acoustics
like rocking this place. Yeah.
Right. I think I usually I don't hang out that late anymore.
A bit boring.
Yeah, just so I'm old. I have hemorrhoids. You have to go home and wipe with witch hazel.
Well, to answer this, do you think you're getting the hemorrhoids because of your furious self-booking? And talk a little bit about that. You're like one of the few people I know.
Oh,
Jeremy
amazing.
Pell, I mean, your booking skills are incredible. And for those people who are out there listening, who are jazz students or whatever, haven't booked their own gigs before, really dealing with the bookers or agents in this industry can be, as if you're not well represented, can be soul destroying and utterly most time consuming. And after having been on a tour with Jochen, I realized he is like one of the most thorough dudes. Jeremy Pelt too also is somebody I know who is heavily involved in his own booking, so to speak, and stuff like that. And I have a lot of admiration for you guys. So if you just talk a little bit about that.
Well, it is definitely soul crushing. Long hours of
perseverance.
Asking, you're just asking people for shit, and it's never and the percentage of answered emails is very, very low, and it's just very, very frustrating. But you just have to kind of, which I'm still figuring out. Like you still have to just find a good amount of annoyance. Like you have to find the right number of follow-ups to send and how frequently you bug people. Like there's some people I've sent them possibly 100 emails possibly,
and then got a gig.
And okay, so there's some that I've sent them 100 emails and I've never heard back from them ever. But fuck them, I'll still fucking email them. Just write back, no, I don't want you to play in my club. That'll be easy, right? Yeah. So, but they don't do that because they're too busy. But I have sent somebody like 9 emails and then gotten a response like, "Oh, hey, I just read your email." Like I didn't send the 8 ones before, And as you said, it's kind of the same thing with a band leader. Sometimes you're like, "Well, why does this guy not hire me or this person?" There's many reasons why a club will not hire your band.
Yeah.
You know. There might,
so don't get offended.
I definitely don't get offended.
Well, this is a band you're with Mark Turner.
Yeah, I mean, I'm basically,
and Lage,
and you,
and me, or Penman, or someone.
Yes, yeah. So I'm basically.
I get the trio sometimes.
I'm riding Mark's coattails there. Totally. Is that how you say it? Ride somebody's coattails.
Yeah, that's the way.
Is that the right way to say this?
Isn't it riding coattails and then pulling your coattail? That means when somebody kind of like hips you to something, or pulling your sleeve maybe. Like when an older guy's like, "Hey, maybe you shouldn't say that. It's called pulling your coattail or pulling your sleeve." You ever heard of that?
No, sorry.
I'm learning that
pulling your
colloquialisms from being with an Australian girl that
Oh, right.
It's a vibe, and
Yeah.
the British thing too from watching Pilkington and Ricky Gervais.
Yeah.
I'm like learning all these new. Anyway, back to sorry, I went left.
No, that's.
Yeah, no, it's definitely a lot of work, and I'm still figuring out how to do it.
I've been telling him he should do lectures around, music schools about what he goes through, just to prepare people mentally for what they have to go through. That sounds like
the most depressing thing of all time.
Maybe you would just dissuade a lot of young budding musicians, which wouldn't necessarily be a bad thing. No, sorry.
I mean, it's already it's
already overpopulation. We really need to, with the amount of killing young musicians. So Jochen telling them to quit would really be ideal, right?
I mean, it's already like a lot of people they study it at the jazz school, and then the job prospect is like, if you then teach at the same school later, that would be a success. Yeah.
No,
It's rough.
Oh man,
it's rough.
But there's more money in jazz education than in jazz.
Oh, it's so sad. Of course, that's the whole problem.
And that's what I'm trying to get into on this podcast. Is you hear a lot of great interviews with musicians that are very like, oh yeah, thank you, I'm so grateful for being here. Of course, we are all grateful for being here and for having our latest record out or whatever. But there's also a lot of real New York issues when when you go to teach a master class in Hamburg or whatever, and they're like, so what's it like in New York in front of a room? And Jochen's like, how am I going to say this?
Right. Yeah, it's tough. Yeah,
I think, it is tough, and it's never like now you've reached a plateau and it's good, and it's always up and down for me anyway. So I have some months where it's amazing, I'm playing with everyone. Then 3 months where it's like, fuck, does anyone? Wow, shit.
Yeah, and it's also the problem is that you can never control it. For me, it's like you get, it's always the same thing. You get offered the same, for the same time period or something. Mm-hmm. Like you get 2 tours offered for the same 2 weeks in September, and then you have nothing for 2 months or something. It's like it would be very nice if you had some sort of input on when you're touring and when you're not. So, when you're band leader, you can help that a little bit. Although, then it's, there's so many other problems like trying to get your band together, at the same time is also hard.
Especially
but
when
at
you're
least,
relying on
at least you can pick the periods, or pick a period that's not horrible for you.
Yeah, I mean, but there's only so much control over that too. Do you guys feel like when you hire musicians in your band, I mean, it is one of the jivest things, I think, to hire somebody with the expectancy that they're going to hire you back, right? That's one of the things that a lot of people do in New York. And also in New York, it's taboo to even think that way.
Right.
Yeah. But in local cities, it's expected in America. If you're in Houston, I'm not going to speak for any cities in the world, in the U.S. that I'm not familiar with, but I know that even in Philly, where I'm from, if somebody hits you up for a bunch of gigs, there's an unwritten contract that you're probably going to hit them back.
Yeah.
I mean,
no, I mean it happens, but I don't think you should expect it, and it's got to be about the music, right? It's not going to be about a trade-off.
But don't you think that's happening? What I'm saying is I agree with you 100%. And if I ever get hired by somebody, it's like, oh, thank you so much.
Yeah.
But don't you feel like now that kind of stuff is happening more and more and more because of how few the gigs are getting to be?
Yeah, I mean, what is a problem, for example, is if my band is Mark and Lage and Penman, I feel like I've seen Mark hire Lage. And Mark hired me once for one single gig.
Sorry, Orlando's burping under his shirt. Everybody, I'm not laughing at Mark or Orlando.
No, I'm just saying it's
finish. Go ahead.
You basically people are trying to not have the same lineup as your band either.
Yeah.
I think if anything, it makes it less likely that they'll hire you if you hire them.
Right.
For the only person that does that continuously is. Actually, talking about it now, so Mark Turner's band is basically Gilad's old band, just without Gilad and with Avishai.
Yes, Joe Martin and Marcus, yeah.
But that's been going on since Coltrane doing record dates with Miles' sideman. I mean, that's nothing new under the sun.
I mean, it's tough, you know, because I play with Will and Lage and Jochen and they don't. We used to play together, and then you know Will doesn't call me for his band anymore, and it wasn't like it was a, you know, now I'm not going to call you. It's just he didn't want to play with me, which is fine. So you just got to let that go and not take it personally.
Well, it's probably because you broke his balls so many times.
Yeah, no, and it makes sense. Yeah, no, but I'm just saying that. Yeah, maybe it's there's so many reasons that you don't know, and but you can't expect that, and I don't expect that from my friends.
Right.
You know.
Right. Of course.
They don't hire me, and sometimes I hire them, and sometimes I don't.
Yeah, and if they don't hire you, go to the gig and drink a beer and support them. That's the way I was brought up.
Oh, I just sit at home and sulk. No, no. Yeah, exactly. It's tough, and you want to be hired for your musical ability, and that's the way it should be. And you've got to be thick-skinned about all that stuff. Otherwise, it will destroy you.
Right, totally. And I think everybody at a certain age. I mean, I'm 27, but I think even at a younger age than I am now, I had to go through that of like, you know, you have to develop a thick skin. You can't. Some people are just born with it, but you also have to develop that kind of thing. Yeah. But more or less, what I was asking you guys about is like, have you noticed a change in the dynamic in that way of like, well, we could probably break it all the way back down to like, all right, getting texted for a gig. Like I see a lot of Facebook complaints about, oh, people text me for a gig and they don't give the details and they don't give the price and stuff like that. Like, do you notice, is there any like stark differences in the way you're getting hired as you are now than 20 years ago in New York?
I don't think so. I think that stuff was always going on, and in different ways, you know, people were calling you up and not giving you details and stuff. So I think it's the same, right? I think your point is that you're saying that the younger generation can't handle. There's a different way of doing things, or they can't.
Well, the whole thing with Instagram and Facebook is like keeping up with the Joneses, like keeping up appearances. So we just had an open moment where we were all like, "Shit, man! There are months where stuff's messed up, and I don't have any gigs." Yeah. Like social media, like my generation's never going to show their cards with that kind of stuff.
Because you want to be seen as being,
because you guys are wimps.
No, I mean, but that's a common narrative among a lot of older musicians. That's what they've said to me. You guys are not really tough enough. Like it's a different vibe, right?
I mean, yeah, absolutely. When I play with, you know, when I've played with Branford or the older guys and stuff, it's tough. You know, they say things very upfront, and they say things that could be brutal, and it's like, oh, okay, you know, and but it's very clear. It's like, okay, I know how to handle this, you know, and I think that there could be more of that with the younger generation, and that's my point.
Yeah, I think there's quite. I mean, social media. We had a whole long discussion in a taxi
that was hilarious.
In China recently about it. But yeah, I think there's a lot of glossing over maybe on social media in general, or I don't really know. I think it's maybe that's a generational thing. It's just like young people, they trying to be all positive and shit. I don't really know. It seems to be like a weird, like people like in my age, like we're complaining a lot, right? Like we'd like to go and complain about things, and it's just we're just looking at it from the other side, I guess. You know, I feel like I when I talk to younger people that they're just much more positive in quotation marks, you know, and I don't think it's real, you know.
But the idea is if you try and be more positive, then that creates different energy, and then things start happening for you, and you know, you attract better things, right. You know, and that even if it's fake at first, you just got to start kind of believing it. And but the insincerity, I find that with America, you know, just the differences between Europeans and Americans. But America's always been this place where people just believe in themselves and they go for it, and they just...
That was literally on this Carl Pilkington thing that I was watching right before you guys walked through the door, where they're like going up a mountain, and the guy's like, "Oh, that was amazing," and he's like, "That's not." It's like Northern English, like that's not that amazing. Like, can we save amazing for when it's amazing?
That nuance gets lost with some of the language that Americans use. But I also like that sort of belief in oneself and that sort of energy.
Mm-hmm.
I think I need it because I'm a bit, you know, self-deprecating and British, you know, and it doesn't lead me any good places, and people see through it as, you know, sometimes what it is, which is sort of false modesty sometimes, and just, you know, just a different, you know, so I've started to be like, okay, well, actually, you know, thinking, well, actually, I am actually quite good, so, you know.
Yeah, I think it's about sincerity, really. In the end,
it's sincerity.
Like you know, you have bad times and good times. You know, nobody has, you know, only good times.
Yeah.
So it's just.
Well, you're great on social media because it's, you know, it's pretty out there, and
you break it up,
honest and break it up.
It's
and
like gig post, gig post, gig post.
Jochen.
Sadly, somebody passed away. Somebody got married.
Yeah.
Jochen, like that. It's perfect timing. Always one of my favorites.
Yeah, it's great. I try and keep it, you know, for me, I obviously promote myself. I'm trying to make money, but I'm also putting stuff up, more personal stuff too. So just try and balance it out, you know. But you're great because it's personal and it's different.
I'm just talking shit, basically, you know. I've replaced the going out and talking shit with just doing it on Facebook sometimes.
So it's an even broader reach rather than 100 people in Smalls or whatever. It's the 10,000 people that you have a wingspan for.
Yeah, but I mean, social media is really is the devil. I think it's gonna ruin people. It's gonna ruin a lot of shit. I think. I think it's just. It's so addictive. It's
it's insanely addictive.
It's insanely addictive.
Yeah.
The way that you can buy ads is so fucked up.
Yeah.
In the way that
it's so fun.
Our cell phones are listening to us right now, and like you'll be on the train home, and it'll be like, interested in podcasts, and we'll be like, what
exactly.
And with Google too, now you can buy ads. So what you see first on Google is, you know, when you just type in German drummers, someone will put Jochen Rueckert there before, you know, a better
before the guy from Rammstein.
Yeah. Thorsten Wagenschnagel. No, but it's just it's crazy. Man.
Sorry, you're American.
We've oh, you're American.
Oh, I am an American.
Yeah. So if it was the Second World War, which side
were you looking for approval?
Be fighting myself.
You'd be fighting yourself in the Second World War.
That's what. That's.
Imagine the conflict. You would just sit on a boat in the middle of an ocean, directly between Germany and the U.S., just fighting yourself.
Yeah.
No, but I think social media will end it all.
I think Twitter is awful with just people sort of, you know, with their comments and just sort of mob culture, and it just aggravates everyone. You know?
I think okay. So there's one thing that I have to say. Like, Facebook is, I mean, it's horrible and ads and everything, but at least people are so. I try to use it where people are actually talking. Like you know, like so I make a funny post. Somebody, you know, makes a funny comment, something like that. That's enjoyable.
Yeah.
But like Instagram or something where you can't put a link, you can't really have, people are not it's just like, here's a picture, that's it. That is the most retarded thing I've seen. Like, it's so egotistic, it's so like completely useless. Instagram is, you know what I mean? There's no communication whatsoever. Twitter is awful because it was so short, you know. It used to be like only so many characters, right? So at least on Facebook you can sort of, if you watch out, you could have a good time if you limit yourself to, you know, only interacting with your friends or something. You know?
Oh
kids,
man, kids
and on social media and smartphones. I'm dreading. My daughter's 10, and we're gonna get her just a flip top phone eventually, and she's gonna hate us, and then
but
it's okay. She already hates you.
She won't be the only person in the class that has a flip. I'm sure there are so many parents thinking the same way. You know what I mean? But my little sister has an iPhone, and she's, I mean, she's a little different. She's super into music, so she's really down that.
She knows how to work it.
She's like sending me links to like Brian Wilson, like unreleased records and stuff, and like stuff I'm not hip to. It's pretty rare.
That's nice.
Situation. But I know for my generation, it's like that discussion in the car in China with you, me, and John Ellis, I mean, it was a clear divide because of the way that our generation's programmed to, you know, and somebody...
What was that? Yeah.
We were essentially... I don't know how it started, but the vibe was essentially that I felt it was really, really important to keep people updated and to be on top of it and to be, you know, transparent with everything you're doing and throw money into it and all that kind of stuff. And I don't really remember what John... Do you remember what John's...
I think we're getting... Maybe we're talking about there was a little intrication where like I commented on somebody's post who I didn't really know, and I said something that was easily interpreted as being like really snarky or something. As somebody who was really fed up, he was like, you know, my life sucks. I'm so tired of looking at all your guys like tour pictures and I have nothing. Yeah. I'm gonna get off Facebook. Fuck this shit. You know, that kind of post. And then I commented something about you know, how other jazz musicians had like, you know, Wayne Shorter's wife died in an airplane crash or that kind of thing, you know. Mark Turner sawed his finger off once, you know. That's
and
fucking
I remember
horrible
that
shit.
being put up on MySpace and me being like early in high school and us like freaking out in Unionville, Pennsylvania, in the middle of nowhere. Like, oh my God.
I think that's how that conversation started.
But I think there's something. I find something that sometimes that the self-absorbed post like that, even if that person needs help, and I find it just awkward, and I find it's awkward, very narcissistic. But maybe they should put that stuff up there. But I kind of
I mean, if the culture was that somebody would actually help him, that would be amazing. And I wasn't trying to be all like, I was just trying to give a little perspective or something. And then, he got really, really offended. Yeah, and it's just like it's very hard to misinterpret stuff, you know, on Facebook or in anything written, you know, texts. As you're married,
it's hard to interpret stuff. Yeah,
you know. So I think that's how we got there, because people get offended so quickly on Facebook. I think that's how we got there. And then also we were talking about how that person was complaining that he has to look at our pictures of us being happy on the road and we have this amazing life. That's how we got to the point where we're like, okay, well, actually, we're not having that amazing life. It does suck at times. We do sometimes post pictures of, you know, us hanging out a day off in an amazing city and have an amazing meal. But also, we have, you know, it's horrible travel and it's very unhealthy and all that stuff. And he was complaining that he doesn't have to look at it. And then you were saying that you were tired of having to look at everybody else being so successful. That kind of stuff. Nobody has to look at it. You were the one opening Facebook and looking at it, you know. Right. That's what we were talking about. Yeah. There's because it's so addictive, you have to be really careful, you know.
There's a sense of entitlement with social media. It's like you want to see what you want to see. It's like it's your thing, and that's wrong. I mean, it's not your thing. It's like buy the paper that you want to read, the stories you want to read, if that's so, But,
right, and that's why I think more people have, like, we're using it for a business perspective, so when we're following people and doing all that, our feed is other people doing cool shit. Yeah. And then we're, anybody gets dark, like, looking at, if you, like Orlando's saying, if we have, like, a month off and you have no gigs, and you see, like, somebody's, like, doing a 30-day tour with, like, whoever whoever you want to play with or whatever, it's anybody can get dark about it. But that's essentially like, like many musicians and just people in general, I have a therapist, and I talked to her about that, and she was like, oh yeah, well, it's one of the biggest proprietors of depression, because it's, like I said, keeping up with the Joneses or whatever. Like, you have it right there. Oh, this person's doing amazing, and you're in a bad spot that day. It just shoves you further down. Yeah. So you literally just have to post and get off, because you have to have it. It's a necessary evil. You can't not have it.
The thing is that the insincerity of people posting only positive stuff, that's what I was talking about, being so positive.
Yes.
Young people.
I remember this in the car now.
That's what I was talking about earlier. I don't mean like putting off like a positive vibe is like a bad thing, but I'm just that insincerity. Yeah. Like, and I think we got to the point, because I remember like we were reading posts and you had like, you posted something like, oh, we had a great time in Taipei or something, right?
Yeah.
Great gig with Jochen. It was a fucking horrible gig, you know. There was like 5 people there. It was a total. It was a disaster. Like we
but
played.
this is glass
we played
half full.
Yeah, but we
kind of
played.
stuff.
We played okay. For like for that situation, I think we did it.
I thought that was the best gig. No, the last one was the best.
Yeah,
gig,
the last one was.
Yeah, and we got some good. That was a dope gig. Yeah.
But so I'm just like, people are not honest on those things. So you should not even should not take any of that information at face value at all. Like,
Yes.
It used to be like those feelings. I used to get them in the 90s. We used to get sad and jealous when we picked up the
Village Voice.
Yeah, you picked up the Village Voice and you go to the Who's Not Hiring Me This Week page. The listings page,
Yeah.
That's how I used to get sad.
That is hysterical. Who's
That's
not
the best
hiring?
thing.
That's the best thing that's been said all
Yes,
day on this
it is.
podcast.
There you go.
You want some more water? No, go. I've been drinking from that. Do you have a germ issue with that? I have a whole fresh bottle over there. I can just hit pause,
Yeah.
and our
Okay.
listeners will understand.
Maybe I'll have it.
Oh yeah. Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah,
like
dry
coffee
mouth
or
from
something.
We're gonna
talking.
pause just for a second to come back and finish this off.
Well, that was you got to have that one. That in there.
All right, and we're back. Here we
Yeah,
go.
a little Pro Tool monkey.
Yeah, no, it's Logic, guys. I don't have that much
Logic
money
monkey.
for 'em.
A
But,
Logic monkey.
I can't remember where we were, but now is probably a good time. What is going on with you guys coming up? This podcast has been taped mid-January. Where are we? January 21st today?
Chinese New Year.
Is
24th.
this?
Yeah.
It's yeah. No street parking today. I have a car. This time of year is usually really shit for me, and this is when I just get into debt more often because I'm like, I spend all the money I've made in my fall, which is usually good,
Yeah, and then
and
tax
Christmas
season's coming
presents
in.
and whatever,
Yeah.
and then it's like, oh shit, February, and especially so far, it's been quieter. But I just released this bass book called Get It Together. And I haven't made a lot, but I've made, it's just been enough to bump me through this month, which is great. I have an ebook I sell from my own site, and then it's on Amazon. Physical copies are from Amazon, and it's just fundamentals for bass.
What's the name of the book
It's
again?
called Get It Together: Time and Sound Priorities for the Jazz Bass Player.
I can just hear you screaming, "Get it together!"
Wow.
My wife helped me with the design and everything. She was wonderful, and I just did all the stuff in Sibelius, and So I'm happy I've done it because it's kind of like a lesson. When I teach, I just end up saying these same things about sound and time. So it's good just to put it out in a book. So I just say, just go and get this book, and then come and have a lesson with me.
Right,
Yeah.
exactly. There you go.
Yeah. So So that's helping me financially too. Although I'm doing it. I enjoy teaching too. It's not just I'm doing it for the money. Yeah, I'm doing it for the money. I'm a jazz musician for the money.
Yeah. What about you, Jochen? What's on?
I do not enjoy teaching.
Yeah.
Do you really?
I
enjoy
do.
teaching?
Yeah. If it's
Come on,
someone
be
that's
honest.
yeah, no.
Really?
Yeah, I do.
Really?
Yeah, I get if it's look,
No.
Yeah, if
Really?
it's someone who's good and wants to learn.
Right. Yeah. Okay. I guess those are pretty good. But that's not the case usually, right?
Well, I just do a lot of one-off guys. Usually they're coming from Europe or somewhere, and they
Right.
just want to have a lesson with a bass player in New York, and
Yep.
everyone else is busy, so they end up with
Yeah. I
me.
guess those can be fun. Yeah. Sure.
So you got anything coming up, or what's happening?
Not really. I'm just gonna record a few things coming soon. Yeah.
Cheers for the call.
Yeah. Sorry. Oh no. I hired a.
You could say that too.
Oh, yeah.
I hired
Right,
a
do we
much
get-
younger bass player, taller and better looking bass player.
Yeah.
No, I'm
Well, I didn't get a text or
yeah.
anything. or an
You're
email
not
or-
tall enough, dude.
Oh, it's the story of my life.
I'm gonna record a couple albums actually. Just
Oh, that's even that.
yeah, I'm gonna do two
albums,
albums.
they still-
Do
we
you
still
wanna-
haven't got the call.
Orlando, do you want to just maybe get together and we could just cry and watch
Yeah.
the Notebook
Yeah.
together?
One is gonna be with organs, so you guys don't have to feel bad about it.
Still feel bad
Yeah.
about it. Yeah. So
Play a bit
you're not
more.
at liberty to say who's on those recording dates, are you?
No, I'm still working on it.
Okay.
But yeah, it's time to do like themed albums. I think I've put out like the jazz album, with like fast song and then a bossa nova
what's
and
this-
then
what's
the
the-
3/4 and
yeah.
then fast song again ballad.
Yeah.
So I think this one is gonna be like ballad or like medium album. You know how people make ballad albums?
Yeah.
And it's a bit of a bummer.
I like ballad.
Yeah, they're cool.
I love
mean,
ballad albums.
Yeah, I think
I think because we're bass players, we get to hear the bass
for the whole.
right.
Yeah.
So I want to do a ballad or, slow swing album.
Yeah.
That's what I'm going to do.
That's why didn't you call me? That's right up my alley, bastard. I'm gonna get you back. I just recorded an album and I didn't hire you.
Oh.
Yeah, well, I just recorded an album this morning and didn't call either again. I'm just kidding.
I'm recording an album right now.
We're actually recording some sort of album right now.
Actually, I just did record an album.
Yeah, you did actually just record an album.
Fantastic. And that was with...
It was...
Can you say? Or
Yeah.
Okay.
With Kush Abadi on drums.
My man, yes.
It's my kind of romantic funk, fusion, jazz funk band. Will Vincent, Philip Dizak, Sean Wayland on synths, and Nate Woods on a couple of tracks. And luckily I had I don't have any record deal or anything, but I had a fan who put up a bit of money to help me do it, which is amazing.
Yeah, that's happening.
To get just to kickstart it, Otherwise, I don't have any money to spare to make an album, like Jochen obviously does. He lives in his mansion.
I think he's getting German grants. Or are you writing for
German? The German Union of Jazz Musicians is wiring. No, it's
Swiss money.
Actually, I'm not quite sure how I'm going to pay for this. But yeah, I'm.
That should be the name of your course that you teach on tour or tour booking.
How am I going to pay?
How am I going to pay for this?
Yeah, no, it's. I mean, it's not that expensive. I feel like most of the money is being spent on like PR guys these days, or just as much money as you spend on.
Unfortunately, if you don't
paying the musicians,
if you don't do a PR campaign, your album will just disappear. Unless it's with a label that has some visibility,
right? Your
album will just disappear into the vat of digital streaming music with all the people recording that shit in their bedrooms and everything. Anyway, and my last album I did, I just put it out myself and I didn't spend any money on PR and it just disappeared. It's there. I'm glad it's out there and everything, but in hindsight, I would have liked to have been on a label with some sort of visibility, with other artists, and but I didn't do it. So, are you going to put it out yourself?
Probably, yeah, I think so.
But you're going to spend some money on them?
I don't know if I find some money.
What's the going rate on a publicist? It's like, it's like.
Oh man, we should do a whole episode on that.
Is it like $50 a month for 3 months? Something like that.
Yeah.
I mean, that's on the low side.
It's all different.
Yeah.
From when I've gone to investigate or hired people, everything's so vastly different.
Yeah.
And also, it's kind of hard to tell whether it's the amount of money you're dropping is actually.
Yeah.
Versus quality. I mean, that goes for anything.
Well, because they need to make money too, so they're just taking on artists and just trying to sell this product that they just don't really believe in, as well.
Of course, yeah. It's their job.
It's literally their job.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's tricky. I mean, I've been quoted many different prices too. Yeah. I mean, it can go per month. I think you won't find anybody to do it under $1,000 a month. I don't think so.
I mean, on my first album
for a US campaign,
I used Chris, Two for Show Media, Chris, and he did actually a good job. I had a downbeat
with the
Chris DiGirolamo, and it just made a difference. Even if it was just like smaller jazz publications,
it makes a massive difference.
And then I had a downbeat spread, and then people sort of. You get up there and people hear about you, but you've got to kind of keep that going. Yeah. Because otherwise the momentum just goes straight afterwards.
Yeah. It's kind of a little bit like with the booking thing too. You could do that yourself if you were like savvy and you spend a long time. I mean, the whole thing with a PR person is that they have the guy that writes the review wherever it appears. They have that guy's email address.
Yeah.
That's what you're paying them for.
Yeah.
And some sort of relationship with that email.
They're going to respond to that email. It's not going to take them 9 emails to get a response.
Yeah. I don't know. I mean, how
the relationship.
You also don't know if they have a good relationship or not, I'm sure there's, I know some of those people that do reviews, CDs and stuff, and they are also very much annoyed by certain by certain PR people.
Yeah.
You know, they also don't like some of them, and some of them more than others. So
you got to decide
it's
what
tricky.
you
It's
want.
very tricky. You can totally sink like 6-7 grand into this and get like
And
couple of sort of lukewarm reviews. You know.
you know, and also I have to say, so this is not super positive, but we did an I did an Altrio album a long time ago with Will Vincent and Largay. And through Jimmy Katz recorded the photographer Jimmy Katz, he recorded it, got a great sound.
Yeah.
But through his contacts and everything, we got a lot of good reviews. We got like, you know, good publications like, you know, big papers, The Guardian, you know, lots of audiophile plays, really good reviews. And it didn't really do anything for us.
Right.
I mean, we weren't great at pursuing, you know, gigs and tours, but it didn't really seem to.
Like you didn't sell more albums.
No, I don't know. Well, actually, maybe it
how'd you
helped.
put it
Actually,
out?
we don't see that money because it was a record label in Norway that.
See, that's the
yeah.
thing.
Maybe.
I never really know. Like, so the last album I put out was with that German label Pirouette that just went under.
Yeah.
More or less. I mean, they stopped doing new productions.
Yeah.
But I'd never ever seen a statement from them. I have no idea how many CDs they sold. I do know that they had to repress it. You know.
Oh.
So.
I mean, no one's
It's
no one's
really-
making much money from. I mean, unless they're selling
I mean,
them in
they're
bulk.
definitely not making any money. Yeah.
Yeah.
But
to libraries or something.
I mean, in France, I'm hearing the physicals are a big market still for jazz,
Really?
and obviously Japan and stuff like that. But
no, I mean in general, like you know, this particular label is definitely not making any money because they were kind of wasteful and they were backed by like a millionaire, you know.
right.
So, I'm just now finding out what the actual numbers are, you know, because I had the record before. They had a licensing deal with Janis, right, with Whirlwind Recordings, and so there it's like totally transparent. You can see what they're selling. So and it's it's not a lot, and so you can gauge a little better, like PR versus no PR, you know.
Yeah.
And you can also see where people are coming from, you know.
Yeah.
I mean, now it's like when you sell on Bandcamp or something, you can see exactly where somebody comes from when they buy an album.
Yeah.
Like if you have an article or something, it has a link,
Yeah.
and they end up there because of that link, you can tell. So I think now slowly you're going to be able to target better, you know.
Yeah. Oh, it's the window. Pardon the noise, everybody. It's the outside.
Someone having a
New
fight.
York. Somebody's having a fight.
It's New York. Yeah.
We're in an apartment building.
Oh yeah.
Whoa,
That
that's
is
pretty.
Yeah.
It's juicy.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's some serious. It's more gossip than we.
This is a bad time of year, isn't it? January's the.
Yeah,
time of year.
everybody's. It's just not a lot of
depressed.
sunlight, and
Yeah.
it just kind of looks like London.
Oh.
You know.
Yeah.
But somehow
yeah.
it's better there. I feel.
No, in
No,
London.
It's because I'm not from there.
Yeah,
right?
I mean, I
heard
like
that.
visiting London and stuff, but I lived there for 8 years, and for a jazz musician, here is amazing. It's amazing. I mean, maybe it's easier over there as far as what the gigs pay. You can sort of get by a bit better, but there's a level, there's a ceiling over there. Here, the possibilities are greater, but there's no middle ground. You know, I mean, here is.
Sorry, I'm so.
Yeah.
This is just such a loud.
Is
Wow.
this in your building?
I can't really tell. Hold on, well, ladies and gentlemen, we're gonna pause for a second. Apologize for the 2 breaks here, but we're back. But where were we?
I can't remember.
It doesn't
I think
even
I was
matter.
just boring myself and everyone with.
Oh, your latest project, Sam.
No.
Oh.
Yeah, selling it. The PR. We're talking
I
about
have a
PR.
new PDF on my website.
Yeah. It's positive. Let's stay positive.
Yeah, stay
Okay.
positive, right.
Yeah.
But yeah, it is funny how that whole education thing and online education is like exploded in the last 3 years or something. You know? I do remember that guy Falk Willis, German drummer, he kind of started all that shit about 12 years ago. He used to be the one that used to sell DVDs of like workshop master classes, you know.
Right.
My
That was
friend I went to.
jazzheaven.com. Was that what it was?
Oh,
Jazz-
that's still
oh, yeah,
is
yeah, right,
Fucking
right.
genius
Still
name, but
Yeah.
like Jazz Heaven.
Jazz Heaven.
Yeah, and I think back then I was kind of like, oh, this is bullshit, you know.
Right.
But I think he did. He basically started that whole shit, and then, it's amazing how every single person now has a video course out.
It's inverted. It's like it's more important to have little snippets on Instagram of you playing some slick shit. Yeah, you know, and you might have like 100,000 followers, you know, then actually releasing albums with content and, you know, great music.
Yeah,
it's
I mean,
weird,
the sad thing is, like, I just did my taxes. Thank you. I just started working on my taxes.
Oh,
I have made so much more money from those stupid fucking videos I saw online than from albums. It's not even fun. I mean, it's like, it's so fucked up, man.
Yeah.
It's super depressing.
No, it's same with me too.
It's like, oh God, like, you know, you spend your entire life, you know, thinking about music, practicing, writing music, touring, and then you finally get to the studio and you know, you spend all your money to get this product, and then it's just kind of like wilts away. But then you make a few like sort of sad attempts at like drum video. Ooh, this is how
you've done it quite well though. It looks quite good.
Yeah, I mean, I tried, but like it's, you know.
But that's off the back of you being a good, well-respected sideman, jazz leader,
okay,
musician.
But it is
German.
It's just crazy how much more money comes in that way. That's crazy.
I mean, it's what you have to do these days to generate income.
The whole thing went backwards. Like, I was kind of like, okay, I don't love teaching so much, you know, especially like the very basic stuff. Like if I do workshops or something in Europe.
I've done ones with you.
Yeah,
they're
tricky, you know.
No, it's good.
It's tricky because there's a lot of people that are not very experienced, you know. And then
I misread that. So you remember when I misread that situation in Muri? Were you there?
Oh, that was a good one.
But I usually enjoy it. But then I didn't realize it was like a bunch of beginners.
Can I tell that story, please?
Yeah.
We're in Muri.
Yeah, this is good to wrap up.
That tiny Swiss gig. Yeah. Muri, you know that one?
Great Stefan.
Stefan. So anyway, he hooked us up with like a little workshop. And so we're doing this workshop, and you know, it's like 20 people or something. They're like teenagers basically. We, you know, there's workshop people that are like the Mike Moreno style is kind of like, you got to really shed hard, and you're doing everything wrong, and this is wrong, and to do it hard, and do this, and you know, you have to be better. And then there's an inspirational one. They're like, you just guys, you know, just really check out the music and be inspired by, you know. And then so you were kind of like doomsday, like, you know, like. People, they didn't even play. Nobody came up and was like, oh, let me play a blues or something. They were just sitting there, and he's like, yeah, I mean, you have to really put a lot of dedication. You have to, your whole life has to only revolve around jazz music, and you know, you have to work much harder to become jazz if you want to make it, blah, blah, blah. And then finally it turns out that I think you even asked him, it's like, well, do you really want to be a musician? And they were like, no, like we're like a high school class. We have to be here.
They're like, get a credit. Who is Dizzy Gillespie?
Someone got up and said, "Oh, I want to play, you know, I want to play whatever it was, but not for me, by Michael Bublé."
And you were like, "Oh man, I just like wasted this whole."
Yeah, but I guess it wasn't. We didn't know that
I didn't know. I misread that situation, and the class teacher was annoyed, and I regret that. I'm sorry, but I generally do like doing those masterclasses, especially if the level's right, and I get passionate about it. Right. But I like being honest and just throwing it out there, you know. Right.
Yeah, you have to be honest.
You have to be honest, and that's why I like teaching. And so, you know, I sort of fairly respected as a bass teacher because I can just you know, tell them what to do, rather than some teachers have their own agenda that they just project on. I try to stop myself from doing that, you know, where you're at in your career, what you're thinking about. You sort of project that onto your students because that's what you're at. Oh, I'm really trying to do this, so do this. And I had teachers like that when I was young, and all I wanted to know was how to play in time and swing, but they were saying, oh, you know, play like Mark Johnson, or, you know, and I just want to be able to, you know, play in time. You know, and
evaluating where somebody's actually at rather than putting your own thing on top.
Yeah.
Well, I think this is a good spot to wrap up. We're hitting a little bit over the hour mark here. Very first podcast, first taped. I don't know. We'll see what airs first. But the great Orlando LeFleming, thank you so much
Thanks
for
for
coming.
having me. I really appreciate it.
And the very German Jochen Rueckert.
He's American.
No, we're kidding.
I'm from
Great
America.
Jochen.
Yeah.
You're German American now.
Yeah.
So be on the lookout for Orlando and Jochen's new projects coming out soon in 2020, and we'll see you guys next time.
Thank you.
Word.